Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how to level up the Necromancer. The Necro is a very popular class and a lot of people want to play him, but they're not quite sure how to get to the end game with this class. So don't worry, I'm here to help you guys. And before we do actually jump into everything, we are no-lifing the crap out of this game and pumping out a ton of highly educational content. So if you don't want to miss any of our new uploads, hit that like and subscribe button. But now let's talk about the Necromancer and the skill that we're going to be using to level up. And for this one, we're going to be talking about the Bone Spear. This is a skill that pierces all enemies that it hits and then breaks apart when it collides with an object. This is an incredibly strong skill that allows you to do a multitude of things, including level up and even go into the veteran tier of worlds. And because you are a strong independent Necromancer who don't need anybody else, this doesn't rely on summons either. You are doing the damage yourself. You are a one-man army. But now that you understand the skills that we're going to be using, let's level up your character, so follow along with us. Now getting started, we do have to unlock some basic skills for you to use. This is going to help you apply some single and multi-target damage while also generating a bunch of essence for you to spam out. So at level 2, take Bone Splinters, and level 3, take Enhanced Bone Splinters. But now let's move into levels 4 through 7, and this is going to be where you actually get to use some Bone Spear. And this is where you're actually going to hit a huge damage spike because Bone Spear is an amazing skill. So at level 4, take Bone Spear, level 5, Enhanced Bone Spear, level 6, Supernatural Bone Spear, and then level 7, just put another point into Bone Spear. You want as much damage with this as you possibly can. And I am going to make a quick pit stop here because some people might be wondering, are there any aspects that do help with Bone Spear? And there are, but we are going to be covering those in the Codex of Power, so stay tuned for that. But now let's move into our next levels, which are 8 through 14, and these are going to be helping you get a little bit more with your sacrificing and corpse explosions. And with this, you are going to be wanting to open your Book of the Dead and sacrifice your skeletal warrior skirmishers. And when you unlock them, you can also sacrifice your cold skeletal mages as well. Like I mentioned before, we do not rely on summons with this build. It is all Bone Spear and other things. But the actual points for the skills go like this. Level 8, take Blood Mist. Level 9, Corpse Explosion. Level 10, Enhanced Corpse Explosion. Level 11, Blighted Corpse Explosion. And then level 12, 13, and 14, you're just pumping Bone Spear. All of those are just going to be really helpful for all your DPS needs, and it's going to be a really strong. But now let's move into our next levels, which are going to be 15 through 21. And because this leveling build is extremely essence heavy, you are going to be running out of it very frequently. So these levels are going to help you kind of fix that and allow you to spam these out more often. So for levels 15, 16, and 17, take Grim Harvest. Level 18, Hewed Flesh. Level 19, Corpse Tendrils. Level 20, Enhanced Corpse Tendrils. Level 21, Plagued Corpse Tendrils. Grim Harvest is going to be the main source of essence generation here, and Hewed Flesh is just going to be creating more corpses for you to consume so you can have more essence. So you can see how they all kind of play into each other. But now let's talk about your passive points, and this is going to be levels 22 through 34. And unlike some other builds, your passives actually really work towards your specific build in this leveling guide. So the bone passives are going to massively increase your damage and give you guaranteed critical strikes 100% of the time. So for levels 22, 23, and 24, take Serration. Level 25, 26, and 27, Compound Fracture. Level 28, 29, and 30, Evolution. Level 31, Standalone. And then level 32, 33, and 34, Memento Mori. But now moving forward, let's talk about using your ultimate and also getting you a few more key passive points. So these are going to be levels 35 through 49. So for level 35, we're going to be taking Ossified Essence. This is an incredibly strong key passive and maybe even has an argument to be the strongest key passive in the entire game, because it gives you a massive boost right off the gate, but it also scales as you gain more gear and levels. But then for level 36, take Bone Storm. Level 37, Prime Bone Storm. Level 38, Supreme Bone Storm. Level 39, 40, 41, and 42, Corpse Explosion. Level 43, Unliving Energy. Level 44, 45, and 46, Imperfectly Balanced. Level 47 and 48 go into Hewed Flesh, and level 49 go into Standalone. And then level 50, this is where your Paragon begins and your leveling ends, so that's a whole different video. But as you level up and you do more campaign and side quests and stuff throughout the different areas of the map, you are going to be unlocking Renown. This gives you a few more extra skill points that you can pump into your build. So this is where you're going to be putting those. For your first Renown, put it into Standalone. Renown 2, 3, and 4, Fueled by Death. Renown 5 and 6, Unliving Energy. Renown 7, Acolytes Bone Splinters. Renowns 8, 9, and 10 go into Death Reach. Moving forward though, let's talk a little bit more about your Book of the Dead because it is very important. The Book of the Dead gives you access to raised skeletons and golem skills, which again can be very powerful, but not for the build that we are running here. You are going to want to sacrifice these, and because you can summon skeletons as early as level 1 with the ability to customize them starting at level 5, you do unlock more types of skeletal warriors, mages, and eventually even golems as you level. Your golems, however, do require you to complete a quest. But you might be wondering which skeletons and golems to choose and ultimately when to sacrifice them, so let's talk about that. So at level 1, use raised skeleton. It just gives you a little bit of extra DPS, it helps you kind of tank a little bit, and it's not a horrible thing. But then at level 5, you get the skirmisher skeletal warriors, and you're going to want to use those as well. Again, just a little bit of frontline tankiness. It does help in those early levels. But once you hit level 8, that is when you're going to want to sacrifice these skeletal skirmishers. Then once you hit level 15, you can sacrifice your cold skeletal mages. And at level 25, definitely use the bone golem. And then at level 32, you can sacrifice the iron golem. But now let's jump forward and talk about your gear. And gearing up a character while you level is pretty tough, because most of the time, if it's an upgrade, it's going to be better just slot it in anyway. But there are a few things that you can be looking out for while you level, and it can be nice to have it on your gear. So let's talk about your armor first, and for the helmet, you're going to be looking for intelligence, maximum life, and resistances. For your armor, you want maximum life, total armor, and damage reduction. For your gloves, you want bone spear ranks, critical strike chance, attack speed, damage, and intelligence. For pants, maximum life, intelligence, and damage reduction. And for your boots, you want movement speed, corpse tendril ranks, fortify generation, or movement speed on evade. Now for your jewelry, these are going to be your main offensive pieces. This is where you're going to be getting those massive damage ones, and always be paying attention to this. Just because it's a higher level piece does not always mean it's better. So for your amulet, you want damage reduction, and cooldown reduction. And for your rings, be on the lookout for vulnerable damage, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and physical damage. And for your weapon, you are going to be wanting to go for a two-handed sword, since it does give you implicit critical strike damage. It synergizes extremely well because we are getting constant critical strikes with this build. And when you're looking at the two-handed sword, you do want to prioritize the skills listed here. Starting off with, we have percent core skill damage, then percent vulnerable damage, percent critical strike damage with bone skills, percent critical damage to distant enemies, percent damage to crowd controlled enemies, percent damage to slowed enemies, and percent damage to stunned enemies. And if you are lucky enough to stumble across some stuff with sockets in it while you do level, you can throw some gems in there. For your weapon, throw an emerald in. For your armor, throw some rubies. And for your jewelry, throw in some skulls. But now we finally hit the Codex of Power, so let's help you get these aspects to really give your boost an extra little oomph. And there are 4 main ones you are going to want to have in this build. So starting off with, we have the splintering offensive aspect. This can be found in the Gul'ran slums. This makes it so that Bone Spear's primary attack makes enemies hit beyond the first vulnerable for 1.5 to 2.5 seconds. Bone shards from the Bone Spear deal 50 to 100% bonus damage to vulnerable enemies and pierce them. So you can see this is just a massive DPS upgrade for your build. Your Bone Spear is going to be making people vulnerable and also doing extra damage, so that is always a bonus because you're going to be critical striking them anyway, and also getting bonus vulnerable damage is always just a nice little cherry on top. But the next thing that we got to talk about is the resource aspect of the Umbral. This can be found in the Champion's Demise dungeon. And with this, you restore 1 to 4 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Essence is going to be in pretty high demand with this build, and any form of resource regeneration is always welcome. Now the third one is the resource aspect of Torment. This can be found in the Black Asylum. And with this, your critical strikes with bone skills increase your essence regeneration by 20 to 30% for 4 seconds. And like I've mentioned time and time again, you are always going to be critical striking with your Bone Spear, so this is going to be constantly up in your fights. So getting that massive increase of essence regeneration is going to be huge. And when you pair that with the Umbral aspect, you are going to be generating so much essence, you could just spam out your Bone Spears. And the last aspect that you're going to want to keep an eye out for is the Wind Striker mobility aspect. This is found in the Shivta Ruins. With this, critical strikes grant 8 to 16% movement speed for 1 second, up to 6 seconds. And I'm going to say it again here, guys, so say it with me. You are always critical striking with your Bone Spears, so this is going to be proccing constantly when you are in a fight, allowing you to have that mobility to dodge that really annoying stuff that's always being thrown on the ground. A lot of builds have a tough time with mobility, but with the Necromancer, you're not going to have any of those issues. So while you're leveling, it is a good idea to seek out and even prioritize these dungeons to help you get these aspects. And I will also warn you, do not imprint your weapons because they are going to be constantly changing. It is just a much better idea to throw any offensive aspects on your amulet or gloves because those are going to be changed a lot less. I do highly recommend you use the jewelry though, because once you find a good ring or amulet, that can potentially carry you to endgame and it won't be changed. So you can throw a good aspect on that. But let me know what leveling guide you'd like to see next in the comments down below. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Diablo 4 tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thanks all for watching once again, mates, and game, and I'll see you guys on the next one.